Hi everyone, welcome to Mintlify. Like you know already, Mintlify is your one stop shop for creating and maintaining public facing documentation. And in today's video, I'm going to walk you through three things. One is signing up for a Mintlify account, second is setting up your editing environment, and third is actually making an edit to your docs. Before we get started, we want to make sure that we have all of the tools that we need to set us up for success. And what that means is that one, you want to have code editor in place. We highly recommend Visual Studio Code. It's sort of a great tool for beginners or for someone who hasn't used GitHub before as well. And what's cool is that Mintlify also has a Mintlify VS Code extension. And what this extension really is, honestly, it's an autocomplete for Mintlify components, which is super exciting. So, say for example, you forget the code for an accordion or the code for a card for a specific page, like an FAQ, this extension has got you covered. But another option that our customers really like in terms of like a code editor is Cursor as well. So really choose a code editor that suits you best. The second thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that you have GitHub Desktop installed. And the third thing you want to make sure is that you want to make sure that you have Git installed, especially if you are used to using commands like git clone and git commit. So now that we have all of the tools that we need to get started, let's go ahead and sign up for a Mintlify account. So what you want to do is go to mintlify.com, which is our homepage, and you're going to see the sign up button right up front and center. You're going to click into that. And then you can choose to sign up either with your email, or you can also continue to sign up with the Google single sign on. If you're anything like me and likes to have all of their sort of like tooling associated with one account, go ahead and choose Google. Once you do that, you want to choose the account that you want to associate with Mintlify. And then we're going to ask you for your company name. Since this is just a test instance, I'm going to go ahead and call it Anahata Plus Test. And this is going to take us to our onboarding flow. And onboarding really consists of three steps. The first is to sign up with your GitHub account. The second is to create a documentation repo. This documentation repo basically consists of all of the content that you want your real doc site to hold. And third is to make an update by cloning the repo locally. So let's start with step one, sign on with GitHub Desktop. In case you don't want to authorize GitHub OAuth, all you really have to do is click into this option right here. You want to clone our starter kit template. Our starter kit is basically it's got like a couple of pages in the min.json. So it's got everything that you need from an MDX and a images standpoint to be able to actually start writing and creating your docs. But like I said, I'm just going to go with option one, and I'm going to simply sign in with GitHub. So we go here, log in with GitHub. I'm going to authorize GitHub. Once that's done, the second step is to create your documentation repo. When you click next, this is automatically going to clone the starter kit that I just shared with you into your GitHub repo. Like I said, it's kind of like a great beginning point for you to actually start creating your documentation. Once that step is completed, it's the third that we go into is make an update. The two kind of commands that you're seeing here is one is clone the repo. So the repo that we just created, actually cloning that locally and actually making an update and pushing your changes. Since we're going to be learning how to kind of create and edit your documentation a little bit later in this video, I'm just going to skip cloning the repo and making an update and pushing your changes. And I'm going to head directly to our dashboard. So like you can see, this is our GitHub dashboard. I want to just make sure that I have the right account associated with Mintlify. Like you saw, I signed up with my personal GitHub account, but I really want to make sure that I have my org repo associated with it. So I'm just going to go and head into settings. I'm going to go and head into Git settings. And like you can see here, it says project settings, configure the source of the documentation repo. So like you can see here, the GitHub organization that the Mintlify account is currently associated with is my personal account. To make sure that I connect my company account, I'm going to click into this and I'm going to go into add organization. And this is going to take me into GitHub. And like I know, I want to connect Mintlify onboarding. That's the repo that I want to connect to my documentation site. So I'm going to go ahead and configure that. We're going to scroll down. We're going to make sure for right now it's all repositories, but I want to flag that you can select only specific repositories. So if there's only one repository that you want to connect to your Metlify account, you can totally do that. But for right now, I'm just going to click all repositories and I'm going to go ahead and write save. Awesome. Like you can see here, I have configured my organization repo, and this is the specific repo I wanted connected with my Mintlify account, and that's the branch. And I went ahead and hit save changes. And once you hit save changes, you see this little green tick mark that verifies that for you. You can also see that on the main dashboard view. Here you can see that this exactly is the repo that's associated with your Mentalify account. Our next step here is going to be showing you how to clone this repo locally, make those changes, kind of see those changes locally, and then actually commit them so you can see your docs site live. Before we do that, I just want to give you a quick overview of what our dashboard looks like. Something that I have found really helpful in while collaborating with other people and creating these documentation is definitely the activity history. It tells you exactly what changes were made and whether they were successful or not. We also have our analytics dashboard that you can see right here. We also have a web editor. We're currently working on making this web editor really, really amazing. So I'm not going to dive deep too much into this right now, but look forward to some crazy updates very soon. We have our AI chat, and this AI chat kind of dashboard kind of gives you an overview of the chat history, what requests are you getting, what kind of questions you're getting, and then of course our settings. We already dove deep into Git settings, and this is the main place where you can choose to switch the repo associated with your GitHub, or sorry, with your Middlefy account. I just wanted to also flag that we can also have a GitLab workflow, but right now that's only available for enterprise accounts. So now that we have that set up, let's see how to make changes to your GitHub repo and actually see those changes go live. So I'm just going to click into my repo right here. And this is going to take me into the Mintlify onboarding, which is the organization I associated with my Mintlify account. And I'm going to go ahead and open this in GitHub desktop right here. So once that's done is you want to just decide where you want to store this locally. I typically do it on a docs folder, but obviously up to you. And I'm going to go ahead and clone that. And then because I already had Visual Studio Code installed on my desktop, I'm going to go ahead and open this in Visual Studio Code. Now, the next step for us here is to be able to preview any changes that we made locally on our desktop, right? And to do that, you just want to quickly open your command line or your terminal. And you want to make sure that you've installed the Mintlify CLI. All of this is in our onboarding guide as well, but I'm going to go ahead and drop that code right here. My laptop sometimes has issues, so I'm going to go ahead and write sudo and run that. And like you can see, my local terminal right now is currently installing the npm package. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cd into where these docs live. So like I think I had saved it on desktop and under docs. So let's go ahead and do that. The name of my repo was onboarding. Let's do that. And then what you want to write is Mintlify dev. And this is going to pull up a preview of your documentation. So like you can see here in the local host, this is just the starter kit that we had created initially. So let's go ahead and make an edit and see what that really looks like, right? So I'm going to go ahead into Visual Studio Code. This seems to be the introduction page, looks like. I'm going to go ahead and write introduction test. I'm going to go ahead and save that change. And like you can see in localhost, that appears almost instantly. So this really gives you a sense of what the changes look like before you're really pushing it live to your doc site, right? Let's try something a little more complicated. Let's see. So here you kind of see you have this like card title right here, which says preview changes. Let's go down and see what that really looks like. You can see this right here. It's got an icon. It's got a heading. It's kind of got text inside. Why don't we go ahead and change that icon and see what that really looks like? I think the icon is image. Let's say, for example, we do something as random as graduation gap. going to save that, and you'll see those instant changes right here. So we can see that we switched out the logo, right? And if you say, for example, wanted to create a page and see if that would appear or not, let's go ahead and do that as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a page right here. I'm going to call it test.mdx. This, I can, as you can see, is like completely a blank canvas. What I'm really going to do honestly is just go and copy paste the front matter directly into that page. Like you can see here, I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm going to call this test, and I'm going to say welcome to Mintlify, which is great. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually add an accordion or a component of some sort so you can see what that really looks like. So let's go ahead and maybe add a card component. And like you see, I remember I spoke about the VS Code extension. I already have that installed. So the minute I wrote card, it kind of showed up because it already has that element in its directory. So I'm going to go ahead and write card. I know I want card title. I know I want to call it hi. I'm going to go ahead and close that. Let's also add an icon actually. I'm going to add a bolt because why not? This is a test card. And we're going to go ahead and close this component. Let's do that. Let's go ahead and save this. Now you must be wondering, why don't I see this page anywhere in my navigation or anywhere on the doc site? That's because we haven't referenced this page in the mint.json just yet. So let's go into the mint.json and see what that really looks like. So if you can see right here, the mint.json basically controls how your documentation is structured and what the colors and the branding and the logos really look like. So like you can see here, you can switch out anything that you want. You can change out your hex color codes. You can change the logos that you see right here. But what I'm going to do right now is just add that test page that I created so that we can see it up front and center. So like I see in this first group right here, I'm just going to go and add it, and we called it test. Let's go ahead and add a comma right here, and let's save that. So now you can see the page shows up. It's what I had copied from the front matter itself. So it's right here. And this is the test card. Now, why don't we now? We know what this looks locally. It looks good to me. I want to push these changes and I want to go see them live on my doc site. So what I'm going to do really is just commit them directly to GitHub. It's really that simple. So I'm going to go right here, add a page. VS Code has the GitHub integration. So when you commit it, you're essentially committing it to GitHub right here. So now that we created those changes locally, let's see if they were deployed live. I'm just going to click into this link right here. And there we go. They were deployed live. I also wanted to show you where you can set up your custom subdomain. So if you head into settings, custom subdomain, you can add a domain specifically for your doc site. One feature that I wanted to show you as well is our own AI chatbot. So say, for example, you were doing your documentation and you wanted to know how to add an image, but you just don't remember the code or you don't have the VS Code extension. I would go into our documentation right here and just ask our chatbot, how do I add an image? And it'll give you the exact copy paste code. So kind of giving you a quick recap of what we went through today, we saw all of the tools that we needed to get started with Mintlify. That was a code editor, or either a VS Code or a cursor. You want to make sure you download the GitHub desktop app. You want to make sure you have Git installed. After that, we went through the sign up onboarding flow. We saw how to configure the repository that we want associated with our Mintlify account. We then went on to see what it means to actually clone that repo locally, make a change, preview that change, and then push that change live. And we ended with seeing how we set up a custom subdomain. Like I showed you already, we take great pride in our documentation. So use our chatbot in case you have any questions around components, what Mintlify supports, what it doesn't support, etc. Feel free to drop any questions that you might have in this video. And thank you again. Alrighty, bye.